Hello everyone. In this video we are going to go over another part to assignment number 2 during week 2. So for assignment number 2 you had to read the 7 things new college students don't know that drive professors crazy. Then you had to complete the annotation worksheet, which I did a video explaining all of that in this little subfolder. And now we're working on this subfolder, writing a summary. So this link here will give you guidelines of how to write it, and we're going to go over that. And then here's an example of what a summary looks like. But we're also going to start the summary for this one. And then what you'll have to do and complete by August 30th is the summary that we start today. Alright, so again, you can click here and look at this page on Cobra, or you can scroll past the document and click the download button, and if you have Microsoft Word on your computer, you can download it like this. So writing a summary is basically a shortened version of something longer. One purpose of this kind of summary is to show your understanding of the main ideas of the article and what the author is saying. It doesn't necessarily mean you agree with what the author said, it's just to make sure that you know what the author is talking about. So why write summaries? Summarizing allows you to be an active reader. It allows you to check your comprehension of a given reading. It allows you to demonstrate your understanding, allows you to remember what you've read, and allows you to practice effective writing. And you'll write summaries not just for this class, your CCS class, you'll do it in English and psychology and history and nursing and in a lot of things. So it's important to know how to write a good summary. So first, accept the fact that writing a good summary, it takes time, and you have to put in a big effort in order to know how to do it. All right. Next, keep in mind you want to be objective in stating the author's opinions and points, but you want to do it in your own words. That is very important. You want to keep this all in your own words. So when you get to an idea that the author has written about, ask yourself, how would you say that? Okay? And try your best to put it into your own words. If there is something that you just cannot put into your own words, go ahead and put quotes around it. Okay? Give that person credit where credit is due. So your role in writing the summary is that you're the reporter. You're not giving your opinions. You're not saying I agree with this or I thought the author did a good job. You're just saying this is what the author said. So your goal is to communicate the essential message of the original text, the original article. And you're going to put all of that into your own words. Alright, so the structure, the formatting of this. You're going to have 2 paragraphs. The first paragraph is always going to be your shortest. And you're going to have a couple of things in that paragraph. First, you're going to have the citation. The citation has 4 parts to it. The author's name, the title of the article, the source where it came from, so the title of the newspaper, and the date of publication. And then you're going to state the author's thesis. So the topic of what they were talking about plus what their author believed about that topic. And then in paragraph number 2, you're going to summarize each supporting point from that article, okay, and show how they all relate to one another. Okay? So let's talk about that first paragraph. All right, here we have citation and author's thesis. Let's talk about the citation. Here's an example of what that looks like. Okay, so in the article, the deadpan look. So here's the article title. Article titles, you always capitalize the important words, and article titles get put in quotes. Okay, by Bruce Handy. Here's the author's name. And then in parentheses, they've put time and they've italicized time. They use the I here. Okay, this is the newspaper magazine it came from. And then here's the publication date. Okay, so this isn't a complete sentence yet, but this is how you write that information in there. Okay, so in the article, that deadpan look by Bruce Handy, time July 13, 1998, the author examines, and then the rest of that is going to be part 2 of that paragraph, the author's thesis. Okay, and then writing that thesis, you want to remember a few things. So writing this thesis is like having to write a thesis if you're in an English class and have to write an essay, okay? It's typically the last sentence in your introductory paragraph, your first paragraph, and it has your topic plus your opinion, okay? So if you're talking about the death penalty, you can say, I believe the death penalty should be abolished, okay? The death penalty would be your topic, and you thinking it should be abolished is your opinion about it, okay? So that's the type of statement we're going to make. So the thesis here has to be in your own words. It must be a complete sentence. You don't want to be too specific. You want to be broad, but you want to be precise. Okay? And you don't want to say that, oh, this was about a moral or something. Nothing like that. Okay? And make sure that it fits what is being talked about in the article. Okay? So you're looking for topic plus opinion. All right? So here's some examples of that. So over on the left, we have our topics. In the middle, we have our opinion, and so we're going to put them both together. So here, as you can see, we've got our citation with the 4 parts, and then a thesis statement. So in the article, That Deadpan Look by Bruce Handy, time, July 13th, 1998, the author examines the use of Botox, there's our topic, and how it can leave permanent damage to a person's face. There's our opinion. Okay, let's try another one. Here we have in the article, Getting Stupid by Bernice Wuthridge. Now they don't include the other 2 parts of the citation here, so please note that. The author states that alcohol use by teens can cause more damage to their growing brain than to the adult's brain. So here they have alcohol use in teens, and then what can happen. Okay? So that's what you do with that. And then in your second paragraph, you're going to talk about the supporting details, how it supports the opinion, the thesis. You're going to revise, and then you're going to type this thing up. Okay? So here's an example here, but I've actually got this other example. You can get it on Cobra. It's right here. So you can see what it looks like in a Word document. Okay? So you'll have your name, the class, date, and then make sure you tell me, is it a summary or a critical response? You don't have to put a title here. Alright? So this is it. That's all it is. Maybe about half a page. So that's not much. Okay? Like I said, your first paragraph is always going to be the shortest. Alright? And remember, it's going to have your citation, the 4 parts of your citation, and then the thesis statement. And the thesis statement might just be, it might all just be in one sentence like we saw over here. These were one sentence. This was one sentence here. Maybe you've got 2, and that's okay. Okay, you want to keep it down to at least 1 or 2 sentences. So here it says, in thinking you're multitasking, think again. So here's the article title, capitalization, it's in quotes, and then it's NPR, that's where it came from, they italicized it, comma, October 2nd, 2008, John Hamilton reports, so there's the author, he reports that according to neuroscientists, people aren't really actually multitasking. Instead, they are switching from task to task very quickly, a skill that is uniquely human. So here, we're talking about a topic, multitasking, and what's really happening with it. Okay? And that was best written in 2 sentences, and that's okay. Alright, so the rest of this is supporting that. So they say Hamilton gives the example of a short order cook who must remember orders while seemingly at work to fill them. What he's actually doing is not focusing on all tasks at once, but shifting quickly from one to the other. One reason the brain must shift is that the same part of the brain is used in similar tasks. Alright, so they're just talking about what this author reported. Okay? None of their own opinion. Okay? So let's get started with our own version of this, with this article. With our article. Okay? So we got our article title, newspaper it came from, publication date, and author. Alright, so you're going to open a Word document. Make sure you set it at font size 12. You can use Calibri or Times New Roman. That's fine. And then make sure it's double spaced. Alrighty. So you'll put your name. This is CCSO 98. Whoops. Today's date. And then this is a summary. Okay. Every paragraph gets indented, so you're going to use the tab key on your keyboard for that. Okay? And you can go back and look at those examples that I had to start this with. Okay? So in the article, the 7 things new college students don't know that drive professors crazy, written by Shannon Reed. And then we're going to put in the parentheses. Here we'll go and click on I, Washington Post. Now go and click the I again, comma, May 3rd, 2016. All right, and then we have to decide what she was saying here. And she kind of gets to her main point at the end of the second paragraph. Here's what to tell your college-bound students to help them succeed. Okay, so that's the whole point of this, was to help them. Okay, so we need to put that into our own words. All right, so in this article written by blah, 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 the author states that there are many things that college-bound students still don't know how to do once they reach college or reach the college classroom. Okay? How would you say it? Okay? All right? So that's what you can use. You've got to do your own summary for this, so go ahead, feel free to use that. Okay? It's got our citation and then our thesis statement. Okay? So what are the things? Here in this second paragraph as well, we get to learn a little bit about her, who this author is, and kind of who she's talking to. Okay? So those are important things. So this author has been teaching for a long time and has advice to parents of college-age kids of how to help them when they leave home for college. Okay? Now, what are those things? Put those into your own words. Okay? Don't use the words that she uses. How would you say it? Okay? So here she uses you a lot, things like that. So ask yourself, who is she referring to? Okay? So here you could start it off by saying students should not think that they can rule the classroom. Okay? I put it in my own words. Okay? And maybe you want to spend one more sentence explaining what that is. Then move on to the next, and the next. Okay? So you're hitting just the main points. So if you're looking at this article, you're kind of giving a sentence to each paragraph in your summary. Okay? So it's going to be small like that. Alright? So I've started the summary for this article. You need to finish it now. It is due in the Dropbox before 11:59 October 30th. So you've got well over a month to work on this. I highly suggest working on it and then email it to me and say, hey, this is what I've got for my summary. Can I get feedback? And I'll give you feedback on it. So before you turn it in, you'll know that it's already been improved and you'll get a better grade on it. All right? I will save this and put it on Cobra as well. And I'll put it right here in the writing the summary for this article, so you can look at that as well, along with the link to this video. If you guys have any questions, let me know. Next, move on to the next one where we talk about critical response. I'll make a video for that. I'll get us started on that one for this article too. You guys take care.